Esther, would you lead us in prayer?
Sure. Father in heaven, at this time we come to you. We come asking you for your blessing. Lord, we know that if we come to you, you will answer us. We ask in you, dear Father, to be with us. Help us to continue to survive the disease that is destroying our nature. Lord, I want you to have each and every one of our councils to continue to be safe. And Lord, as we try to continue the council meeting, we ask you to continue to bless us, give us guidance, give us understanding, give us the will, dear Father, to help us through this. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Esther. Lenore, has the media been notified?
Yes, sir, Mayor. The media has been notified.
Okay, before we go any further, we're going to, if there ain't no objections, we're going to move number 7 to 8 and 8 to 7 on the agenda. If there ain't no objection with no one.
I move that we accept the meeting agenda with the change of 7 to 8 and 8 to 7.
Thank you, Mark. I have a second.
Second, Councilman Chris Williams.
Thank you, Chris. Floor is now open. Any add, take away? If there ain't none, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I welcome a motion to discuss and approve the minutes from the regular council meeting held on October 19th, 2020. I welcome a motion to discuss and approve the minutes from the regular council meeting held on October 19th, 2020.
Monica Murdoch, I move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of October 19, 2020.
All right, I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something?
Go ahead.
I think we move 7 to 8 and 8 to 7. I think Mr. Jenkinson wanted to speak first, and I think that we want to swap number 6 to 8 and number 8 to 6. So Mr. Jenkinson could speak first.
We need to finish the motion for the meeting minutes, and then we can come back and redo the agenda.
All right, I got a second on the floor is open for any add to take away on discussion and approval of the minutes for October 19th, 2020. If there ain't none, all in favor by saying aye.
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 All right. All right, we're going to go back up to approving the regular meeting agenda for November 16th, 2020. I need a motion.
I move that we change the meeting agenda to reflect Mr. Billy Jenkinson speaking before the first reading of ordinance 2020-13, which will now be number 6?
Number 7. Number...
We want to move on number 8 to 5 and 5 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay, which will now be moved to number 5. And number 5, the letter of conditions for USDA grant, be moved to number 8 on our agenda.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second, Stan.
All right, thank you. Floor is open. Any discussions on it? If there ain't none, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Mr. Billy,
Yes, sir.
you on?
Thank you. Appreciate this opportunity, Mayor Tisdale and members of council. For some time, the Beautification Commission has been considering an ordinance which is before you for the protection of trees on private property. First, let me say that if you have read this ordinance, the introduction probably says it about as well as you can say it. We're one of the few towns, if any, in the United States which gives to the name Kingstree a town that carries with it not only historical significance, but also the significance of a tree. We're the only town in the world named Kingstree. So it's fitting and proper, I think, that we combine our history with the heritage of the trees and honor the trees by protecting some of them. This ordinance is not something that's new to Kingstree that we're presenting. I've checked, and I'm trying to think of a town in our area that does not have a tree ordinance. Places like Lake City and Manning and Marion and Mullins and Conway and Georgetown, just to name a few. All of them do except for us. Plus Charleston and other places, but I wanted to call your attention to the fact that all around us, people are protecting trees because they're so important to our community. They bring beauty, they bring cooling, they bring value to real estate, and I'm not just making this stuff up. Google trees if you want to, and the value to residential property. We're not trying to take away the rights of somebody to cut down a tree. Under this ordinance, you can cut down a tree. If it's diseased, or it's in the way of you adding on your house or a driveway, certainly you can take down the tree. What we're trying to do is protect certain species of trees which are listed on page 3 of the ordinance, like oak trees, the live oak trees, and the various ones, maple, cypress, dogwood, magnolia, elms, cedars, river birch, sycamores, pine trees, pecan trees. Now, there are lots of small trees. Can you take them down? Sure. What we're protecting is trees that are 8 inches in diameter or greater. Now, suppose you want to take down a tree. What is the process? You can apply to the town, pay a $10 application to have your tree removed, or trees or whatever, and the tree arborist, who the town already employs, will verify that the tree is damaged, diseased, needs to be taken down for whatever reason, and approves it. If the Beautification Commission disapproves it, the right of appeal is to the town council. Now, what we've tried to do is protect people's property. Now, what do I mean by that? If you ride down the streets and you see beautiful trees, and all of a sudden somebody cuts down every tree in their yard, it just creates a non-conforming use, and the aesthetic value of the neighborhood is violated in effect. And you could say, well, how about somebody's right to cut down a tree? Well, we regulate where they can put their house, where they can put the fence, a lot of things there to protect the neighborhood, the neighbors, and the values of the property. And that's all we're continuing to do here, just like all of the neighboring communities around us. It's all about aesthetics. It's all about the way we look. It's all about the way we protect our history. It's about and protect our homes. And I think it's just high time that we do so. This ordinance comes to you recommended by unanimous consent of all members to the Beautification Committee. We've given a good deal of time. We are already a tree city because we protect trees in the public right-of-way. we just extending it to the grand trees in people's yards that just won't be randomly cut down for no reason at all. Be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Billy. Anybody got any questions for Mr. Billy?
Monica Murdoch, you stated that the citizens would have to pay a $10 fee, which I've read in this 12-page brief, so to speak, and then the town would determine whether the citizen can remove that tree or not. Am I correct in what I'm reading and you just stated?
It's a little more to it than that. They will come in and file an application saying the tree's been hit by lightning or it's been damaged or it's rotten and needs to be taken down, for example. Or I'm going to add a bedroom in my house and the tree is in the way. Or I'm going to put a carport on my house and the tree is in the way. Or I am going to put a driveway and the tree is in the way. Then we go and look at it, verify that information, and approve the application.
And is this just for the trees that are stated in the ordinance or any tree?
Trees only stated in the ordinance. We had the people with Waccamaw and other regulatory agencies look at our ordinance, and they said this is one of the least, most restrictive ordinances of any town in eastern South Carolina. Matter of fact, there are plenty of towns with much more expansive ordinances than this one. This is minimum protection of trees, according to them.
Okay, so if I want to remove a tree, but I'm not sure of the genius of the tree, what I do then? Would I still have to pay that $10 for you to come and inspect it to decide whether it's one of these species or not?
Yes, ma'am, because we want to make sure it's trimmed properly, meaning there's several ways to trim trees. We don't want to nub trees off, for example. Nubbing off a limb means cutting half of it off. The proper way to trim a tree is to cut it all the way back to the main stalk, keep it from getting diseased or whatever. So really we come there to help you make sure it's done correctly, and that's done for $10, and that's what we've done with a lot of trees already downtown. All of the crepe myrtles at Depot, for example, were done properly. All the ones on Hampton Avenue were recently done. The palmetto trees are done the same way.
And I know that's what the town has done with those in the public venue, but I'm talking about privately. But like I said, 'cause I want clarification, and anybody listening, I want them to be clear as to what needs to be done if they decide that they want to remove, or even, it sounds like pruning a tree in the town of Kingstree, that they basically need to come in and file an application no matter what type of tree it is, because everybody may not know the species of the tree that's in their yard.
Now, we're not therefore mine or them or two. What we're really aiming at is the companies that come in and do heavy duty type work, they all have to be licensed, and they will understand it and what we're trying to do. And so really it extends to the companies that do all this heavy trimming and work on trees. Not just
okay. Then this will fall into their laps versus the citizens having to come in and do this. Okay, I just want to have clarification for those who are asking. And then also, I'm looking at this so people will know, because we're not, the fines and the penalties will be up to $500 if this is violated.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it says not to exceed, but is there a minimum of fine?
Well, I guess that's the discretion of the court. It could be, it depends on the nature and how, much lower than that. Much lower.
And just so the citizens know, this is not just if they remove a tree, But if the tree is unlawfully removed, damaged, or abused, it's considered separate offenses, so they can be charged for each offense.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is just for trimming the trees back as well, not removing them?
Pretty much trimming trees back is sort of a discretionary thing, but the safest thing to do is come in and pay $10 and say, this is what I'm going to do, and let the tree arborist take a look at it to make sure it is the proper way and the best way to do it, because the tree arborist really can help you do a really good job. Urban tree care differs from what you would do out in the woods. Urban trees usually lift from within a tree and help you clean it out and show you how to trim it. And good tree companies understand that. You don't just cut them back, what you do is thin them out, I guess, would be a better description.
Right, so my question is, if the tree companies already know how to do this, then why do we have to go to town hall and file this application to make sure that they do this? I guess I'm just a little bit confused about the process of this, because the way this reads, the citizen is ultimately responsible and will get penalized if there is a problem. But now you're trying to throw it on to the companies that are either trimming or removing the tree. And I just see a lot of failed communication and problems with that. He said, and a lot of pointing fingers.
That's the reason we have the tree arborist. He or she is the person who takes the application and meets with the homeowner and say, this is the way we want it done, the way it best can be done. And if need be, talk to the tree trimmer to help them understand the best way to do it. But that's why the arborist is really the helper to make sure there's not a problem.
So for
We
example,
also are leaving people at, okay, go ahead.
no, so for an example, if there is a limb on a tree hanging down and touching the roof of my house, I have to go file for an application and get an arborist to come look at the tree before I can trim this limb back off of my roof.
That's correct, but the arborist does one thing further. He tells you how to best cut the limb to protect the tree and keep it, and not just chop it off arbitrarily, but where to cut it and how to cut it and make it look best for your tree in your yard and appearance sake.
So we are now then at the mercy, because there are some people who don't hire landscapers or tree pruners. They have people who can come in and do it themselves. Or they do it themselves because they're homeowners. So now you're placing private citizens at the mercy of using professionals, which some of them may not be able to afford.
Not necessarily. If the tree arborist says this is how you do it, it's up to the landowner or the tree owner to, if they want to cut the limb themselves, it's up to them. They're told how to do it. Whether or not they want to hire somebody is their call.
This is Councilmember Lewis. The one question, we are talking about trimming the trees, but what about like when the roots also bring hazard to the homeowners and also the city that is having the street already lift up? Who's responsible and what would they have to do about the tree root, not only the branches, the roots?
The arborist can tell you what to do.
I just want to make the understanding, because there's a lot of them, several areas, they have had the sidewalk already lift up dangerously, and it still is being like that. And I was just wondering about, we are talking about the branches, but I consider some of the roots would also be dangerous too.
And then that can be, again, the arborist can explain the best way to handle that.
And with this tree ordinance and those roots, would the town then be able to legally, if it's a a hazard, because I'm thinking of one spot right now that there's a very hazardous spot where the tree roots have severely damaged the sidewalk and affect drainage because the leaves from that tree constantly cover that drain. So, and that house was just so, I don't know who owns it at this point. So will the town be able to then go in and say, this, find that person and say, this is what needs to be done to correct this so that we can have a safe sidewalk and drainage for the citizens?
Let me answer this way. It depends on if the tree is in the public right of way or not. All of our public rights of way for trees and for streets and sidewalks is with the South Carolina Department of Transportation, DOT. They would be the ones who make that determination.
I am all for trying to save historic trees and not tear them down and save the beauty of the town and just the significance of the tree. I guess where I'm having my problem with this ordinance, and I've heard from several of the constituents in my area, is in some of these smaller things, like I've mentioned, in trimming a limb back on my own property because it's touching my house. And, I've got to go pay $10 and get an application and bring an arborist out. I mean, honestly, I just trimmed it back, on Cooper Street, my mama's house, last week. I had somebody come trim limbs back. And, that is where I'm having the problem with this. And I think where most of the people are, I don't think, they're looking to, or the majority are looking to knock down historic trees and things like that. But I think it's the smaller pruning, trimming things that's more the issue in my mind.
But I guess the best way I can explain that is this. There's a right way and a wrong way to trim a tree limb back from over somebody's house. And the arborist can point out, and you pay them $10, not a whole lot of money to have a professional come to show you the best way to cut that limb back, where to cut it back, and how to make it be an attractive trimming, and also accomplish exactly what you want to do without damaging the tree.
I understand, but I think I have faith in the people I hired to do that as well and don't need an arborist, I guess is the problem. It just seems like an extra step for some of the more basic things.
It's a matter of training. A lot of them just come in and do what I call a chop shop job, just something cheap, cut it off where it's convenient for them and move on and not do it correctly. And I think once they understand what our position is, it won't be a problem. But it's a learning curve that's involved. It will help the way things are. And we've done it. Like I say, the town has this arborist, and we're doing the trees along the streets in the town, and you can see how much better they look. Look at the ones at the depot. All of those have been done professionally, and it's remarkable. And probably half of those crepe myrtles have been removed, but you don't know. You can't look at
So you're saying, so you're saying the arborist will come and evaluate it, then the arborist trims it as well?
No, arborist tells you how to trim it.
Okay, so the arborist is going to tell the company how to trim the tree.
Correct. If they don't understand it, but yeah, it's a right way and a wrong way. Just sort of like going and get a haircut. You can get a professional haircut, or you can have somebody put a bowl in your head and cut your hair. It's just two different results. If somebody knows what they're doing, it's just the result, the end result, makes your property look better, makes your tree look healthy, and makes it look good. And you can always revisit this ordinance if it doesn't work. This is not cast in stone. If it needs tinkering a year or two from now, if it's not working, we can change it. I'm just passing on to you what the other towns have done. I took the ordinance from Georgetown and Conway and put them together to pick the best parts of each one to come up with. This is not something that I've dreamed up. This is something that's working in other locations.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I don't have no question. I need a motion for the first reading of ordinance 2020-13. I welcome my motion on the tree ordinance.
This is Stan. I make the motion to approve ordinance 2020-13, first reading.
I have a second.
This is Lou Esther. I move on the second.
All right. Floor is open. Any discussions? If there ain't no discussion, Lenore, you make a roll call?
Mayor, this is a roll call vote on the first reading of ordinance 2020-13. Mayor Pro Tem Butterworth.
No.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murdoch.
Nay.
Councilwoman McCullough.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Williamson.
Yes.
Mayor Tisdale.
Yes.
And we have 5 votes yes and 2 no votes.
Thank you, Lenore.
You're welcome.
Miss Samantha, are you still on for the audit?
Yes, I am.
You go ahead.
Okay, hello
There we
everybody.
go.
My name's Samantha Salisbury, and I'm here to go over your financial statement audit for 2020. I'm going to go over my quick plan for the night, and then I'll get started. So what I'm planning on doing is doing a quick review of my opinions on the financial statements. I'll go over a few of the statements in these financials, and then I'll address any questions that we might have. I believe everybody has an electronic copy of the financial statements, and I'll go ahead and get started. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is my opinion on page 1. This is my independent auditor's opinion, and what this report says is that the data reported into the financial statements is materially correct. This means that the town's received a clean opinion, and for readers of these financial statements, it means that I haven't examined all the transactions that have occurred during this reporting year, but I sample, I test, I confirm with outside agencies the information that's been provided by the staff and prepared in these financial statements, and I make sure that that information is consistent with what they're reporting to me, what the ledger is saying, and ultimately what these financial statements are saying. So that is the first opinion letter. That's page 1 and 2. So again, that's a clean opinion, which is an opinion that that most towns are looking for. The next section is the management discussion and analysis. This is what we like to call an executive summary of the statements that are included. They have some comparisons to last year. There's some brief talks about changes that occurred and some of the numbers that are in the financial statements. So overall, this is a good overview of what's included in these financial statements. And if you were to focus your time, that's something that you might want to read through, just to make sure that it's consistent with what your expectations were of what happened during the reporting year. The next, we'll go to page 3. These are financial statements of the town as a whole. So this is going to include everything, including assets, capital assets, any debt, or other obligations that your town has at June 30th, 2020. And again, this is sort of an overall picture. It includes all the activities that you guys have going on. And you can see here with your business type
and your governmental activities, you guys have a net position of about $13 million. So that would be what you would see in a business financial statement as the equity section. So that's overall, that includes everything. The town also has several funds and works in fund activities. And so I'm going to mostly speak on the general fund, since that's the operating and sort of the general operations of the town. Those fund statements start on page 5. And let me see here. So page 5 has a listing of some of the major funds that you have and activities that you have going on. But if we wanted to look at something, I think that might be a little bit more useful, we want to go to page 40. Page 40, that is specifically talking about just the general fund. So you can see that the revenues came in above budget at about $300,000, but that we also had expenditures over budget about $300,000. And one thing that I wanted to note on here that you can see is that we had a transfer out of about $300,000, which went to the capital project fund. The capital project fund is where governments report constructions of assets. So that's where we're reporting the transfer over to the capital project fund for the public safety building that was built during this reporting year. So then, and then if you look, there's a little bit more detail on page 41 and 42. It breaks it down on some of the bigger departments. You can look at line items in comparison to how the budget fell out. I think what we'll look at next, so that's your general fund. So the next thing I wanted to touch on is your water and sewer fund. There's a report in the back on page 50. Here you have budget to actual for your water and sewer fund. And you can see that your revenue came in just about at budget. And you also had some additional governmental revenue. That's on page 51, which was about $430,000. That was a rural infrastructure grant. And so that additional revenue supported some additional expenses. Hold on, let me just double check here. So yeah, your overall expenses were about $500,000 over budget. But then you had some additional funding sources. And you can see on page 51, overall, water and sewer activity produced an income of $375,000. Lastly, I want to take a look at my report on internal controls. That report is found on page 53, and there's also a requirement under governmental auditing standards. So this report, I want to just address a few things. The town continues to improve their processes over the years in your financial statement reporting and the process that you have of creating the financial data on your trial balances. We're getting closer to trial balances being fully adjusted with minimal changes as the audit process is going on. We also continue to have financial improvements in the financial manual. The goal here is we are working to have a solid resource available so that all the employees have a reference available for them for their job, for cross-training and performing their tasks. And that, of course, will be useful in training employees, future employees, and also to have that available for staff when people are out of town, and just to be able to have all the offices work efficiently while staff is coming in and out. I thought the process of the audit went very well this year. It was very straightforward. We didn't have issues with timing or planning, and I was able to have an office, secure location with the COVID protocols and all that. So I just want to thank everybody, the staff, getting the information and that work on this audit. And I understand this is a lot of information. I know that you might have had some time to look at the financial statements. So if you have any questions, I can try to address them now, or my opinion letter has my email, phone number, anything that you all need.
Thank you, Ms. Mansell.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if not, thank you.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Thank you, Ms. Mann.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I welcome a motion for the second reading of ordinance 2020-12.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 2019-2020.
We can approve. All right, I need a second.
Oh.
A second.
Second.
All right. Floor is open. Any questions or discussion? If there ain't no questions, Lenore, make a roll call on this.
Mayor and Council, this is a roll call vote for ordinance 2020-12, second reading. Mayor Pro Tem Butterworth.
Yes.
Lenore.
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I think he, yeah, you're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Second reading, ordinance 2020-12. Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Butterworth.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murdoch.
Yay.
Councilwoman McCullough.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Williamson.
Yes.
Mayor Tisdale.
Yes.
It's a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Lenore. Mr. Hooks.
Yes, sir.
You up?
Right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight. What I have for you is two letters of conditions, one for the fire station project and one for the police station project. And this will be very similar to what we did back in August when we did the furniture project for the police station. And I'll go over the highlights of each one, and if you have any questions, we can address those. And then at the end, if you vote to proceed, Mary Ann has all the forms necessary to get signed tonight. She can return those to me. And she's been very proficient and very efficient in getting the other two projects that y'all had funded already this year under this program done. So I appreciate her help and getting the information back to me. Project number one, and these are in no particular order, is project one is the fire station project, which will include the purchase of an extractor and drying equipment for the bunker gear, heaters, ceiling fans for the equipment bays, an air compressor and testing equipment for the breathing apparatus, and an ice maker, refrigerator, lockers, chairs, and beds for the overflow area. The estimated cost of that project is $69,400, and that will be funded through a community facilities grant in the amount of $50,000, and then a contribution from the town in the amount of $19,400 for a total of $69,400. And I'll just remind you, just like on the other two projects, the conditions in CFR 3015, 3016, and 3019 are in effect for these two projects as well. And basically that involves the stipulation that if the town sells or disposes of the equipment that the grant funds were used to purchase, then you could be liable to pay part of that back to the United States government if the equipment is still usable. Now, if it's reached its useful life and it's no longer good for anything, then that provision does not apply. But the purpose of that stipulation is that you don't buy equipment with government grant funds and then sell it to make a profit off of it. So as long as the equipment is used for its intended purpose, and like I say, it reaches its useful life, it's no longer feasible to maintain it or keep it, then that provision will not apply any longer. Okay, as far as the project number 2, the police department project, that is the networking project, and that's going to involve the purchase and installation of security cameras and network hardware necessary to run the computers and the security systems. And that project has a total estimated cost of $60,968, and the funding will come in the form of a community facilities grant in the amount of $45,700 and a contribution from the town in the amount of $15,268 for a total of $60,968. Now, other than that, the conditions and requirements are the same as in the letter conditions for the police station furniture project that we discussed on August 18th and the generator project that we did back in June, I believe it was. So the same requirements and same information applies to these two projects. And again, Mary Ann has been very, very helpful in getting the information back to me. If y'all vote to proceed tonight, when she gets the information to me, I'll follow up with her and get the rest of the information needed to satisfy these letters of conditions so we can move forward to dispersing the funds and closing the project out. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Stokes. Anybody got any questions? I welcome a motion to accept. I welcome a motion to accept.
I make the
$95,000. Go ahead.
Okay. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I make a motion to move to accept the Main Street update from Mr. Williams as he outlined what the plan will be.
Do I have a second on that? Second.
Mayor, Dan, I second the motion to approve the 2 letters of conditions that make up the 2 grants that the town applied for.
Thank you, Stan. Floor is open for any discussions. If there ain't none, Lenore, make a roll call.
Mayor and Council, this is a roll call vote to accept the letters of conditions for the 2 USDA grants that have been awarded to the town of Kingstree. The first grant for networking hardware and security cameras for the police department, and the second grant for fire equipment for the fire department. Mayor Pro Tem Butterworth.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murdoch.
Yay?
Councilwoman McCullough,
Yes.
Councilman Hammond,
Yes.
Councilman Williamson,
Yes.
Tisdale.
Yes.
That's a unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you, Leonard. William?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, bud.
Good evening, council, manager, mayor, all on call. Just a quick update from Main Street. This weekend we have something really exciting happen in conjunction with the Chamber's Holiday Open House, which will include an ice skating rink in downtown Kingstree on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be having our Christmas tree lighting. We'll have pictures with Santa Claus and a whole bunch of events. Please go look at the events site on Facebook and Instagram, on all of our social media. We're really trying to bring a little bit of holiday cheer in this uncertain times. So we're excited to be helping with this event and look forward to it this weekend. Also, our parade will be Sunday, line up at 1, parade at 2, followed by more events downtown in conjunction with the Holiday Open House. As far as projects within our downtown, the Architectural Review Board has approved for a fountain to be placed in Welch Park. We have placed that. We are hoping that it will be installed by this weekend. We are waiting to hear back from the company that is making our fountain. Also, we are working with the engineers with the South Carolina Highway Department with our new signs for phase 1 of our wayfinding point signs within the town. Now that includes a new welcome sign on 52 South, as well as 3 informational signs that will replace the old outdated ones. The first 3 to be put in place will be in between Hardee's and McDonald's, the intersection of South Academy and North Long Street at Subway, and right there at the hospital. We will also be including a wayfinding point sign for Gillen Park on this phase 1. We are really excited about our branding that is hopefully we'll have out and pushed by December 1st. We have a lot of promotional stuff coming out about that soon. And to finish tonight, I'd like to give a thank you to our town. We've had a few investors that have come through town and looked around, and we've shown them around, and they're very impressed with the things that Kingstree has done over the past 5 years. And they look forward to being a part of the future of Kingstree. They met with a lot of citizens and have not stopped talking about how welcoming our community and businesses are. And that goes a long way with what the future of Kingstree is going to look like. So kudos to the town of Kingstree and all of its citizens on that aspect. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Thank you, William. Anybody got any questions?
Monica Murdoch, is the skating rink in the park? I can't remember whether you stated this. Is the skating rink in the parking lot behind the DFS building? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The skating rink will be at the parking lot behind Main Street and Academy. The pictures with Santa and Christmas tree lighting will be off of Main Street, across from the depot, in the grass area that backs up to the parking lot.
Okay. And where will council, just asking for the parade Sunday, where will council be asked to meet for that lineup? Are we still riding a float? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. There is a float available for y'all. I would refer the rest of that question to the town manager or the mayor about location for y'all's meetup. Y'all's float will be in line at the lineup place near Bank of Greeleyville.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trey?
Okay. Let me make a few comments about our audit. The USDA money that we accepted, $985,700, goes directly back into the general fund. We had to dip into our general fund a little bit to make this thing happen. Some things that we did not plan on occurred, and we just had to finish the project. We went ahead with it. Number one I want to mention was the sewer and the water lines. When we first got started, we were told, and we do have water and sewer lines out on Highway 52. Well, they were not producing enough capacity for sewer. The water pressure wasn't high enough. So we had to run these lines back to Marion Street. Mr. Hudson and his crew were able to lay the water lines, but the sewer lines are a little bit different. And we have spent about $25,000 on that. We also ran up on the epoxy for the floor. And it was recommended that we put the epoxy on. We had planned on something else, but that ran us an additional $20,000. And we had to run conduit. We underneath the parking area out here, and to run to connect the two buildings between FPC and Heritage, it's about an additional $70,000. So it ran us over, but we accepting this $95,700. We have it down to just over $200,000. I do want to point out also that our fund balance at present, on page 7, I think you'll find is $1,255,526. Hospitality money funds at the time of when they were audited was $861,000. At present, those funds are up to $949,000, and the water and sewer accounts are up over $1 million. So we're still in good shape. We're still working on it. It's not a finished project, but I just want to pass that along to you. Also, we talked about some board members and folks not coming to the meetings. We have 2 openings right now, and I was able to. I tried to get a hold of these folks, but I was not able to get a hold of them. But on the BZA board, we will have 1 opening, and again on the Housing Authority, we will have 1 opening. And I want to thank our department heads, and want to thank Mary Ann and our department heads for what they do. They fight very hard to keep us within balance for their budget. They are receptive, and I think they wanted to do a good job for us, and I think they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Train. Ms. Lou Esther?
Yes, I would just like to address an issue. I don't know how and what we can do about it, but the railroad crossing at Brook and Kelly Street, it is unbearable. Is there anything we could do as far as CSS and having them to close it off until they're able to fix it? Because I just don't think it should be that hard on the motorists here in town. Crossing
Alvin,
Brook
are you on?
and Kelly Street.
Yes, sir, I'm on. And CSX been notified of both crossing at Kelly Street and Brook Street, the conditions of the repairs that are not completed. And I haven't received a response back from them yet, but I will follow back up again tomorrow.
Louis, so that's all you got?
Yes, that was the biggest thing. And let's go back to the trees on the corner of Anderson Street and Lexington Avenue. The roots of the tree has gone beyond the sidewalk, lifted at least about maybe 6 or 8 inches above walking condition there. Who is to look after that and see if something can be done right there?
DOT's got to look after that. We'll give them a call tomorrow.
Okay, it's kind of dangerous coming out there.
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the sidewalk. I'm sure you might have seen it. And
Yes, ma'am.
see if we can get something done. I understand what he said about the crossing there at Kelly and Brook Street. But it's not easy getting across those two crossings. That's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Ms. Monica Murdoch?
Also, we need to then check with DOT again about in front of 311 Charles Avenue. The town has come in and done extensive work to that drain. Our water and sewer guys repairing it, trying to keep the leaves and debris out of it, but that magnolia tree that is in that person's yard has totally uprooted that sidewalk, as well as the leaves are constantly falling from that tree and obstructing both of those drains on that road, and it causes flooding terribly on Charles Avenue in even the least amount of rain. So that's another area that needs to be addressed. On Charles and on Lexington, we still have road repairs that were done but have not been covered. So if we could get those repairs done as quickly as possible, I'd appreciate it. The guys gone into the Brook Street extension, Tomlinson Street extension, the old Pecan Orchard, and cleaned out the canal lately. I didn't look at it today or the weekend, but a few days ago, there was a lot of debris that has been thrown in there. A cooler, a nice size chest type cooler, a lot of other big debris, which will cause, help with the flooding issue that we already have in town. So if our guys could get in there and clean that, I know that we are responsible for that area. Also last night, just for the police department, there was somebody over here. They popped firecrackers and set off something. I saw it. It immediately stopped, so I did not call 911. But as I read Facebook, evidently it went on throughout town because people were posting from all over the town that they had heard something go off. And I don't know if one entity was doing it or different people went around, but if we could have our patrol, I hadn't seen our patrol in this area in a while, so if we could have our patrols to be out in this area a little bit more, especially 5, and it doesn't stop till about 7 or 8 at night. And just wanted us to be aware of that. Other than that, everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving and happy birthday to me.
Thank you, Ms. Monica. Ms. Butterworth?
I'll just reiterate the railroad track situation. It's horrendous at both spots. I almost witnessed an accident from it the other day. A truck was crossing, got stuck in the ditch with the rails. It flung his pickup truck backwards and almost into the car. Luckily, she had fast reflexes and backed up, and then I backed up behind her. But something bad's going to happen quickly. That needs to be a top priority. It's really bad. Or it needs to be shut off so the car can't go through there.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Butterworth. Bubba?
Yes, I also got 2 complaints today on the railroad crossing at Brook Street, and that is very dangerous. And the railroad has been a little slow on some projects that we've worked with them
in the past, so if we could ask them to speed it up, that would be great. The audit was very impressive. Great job to the town employees, to the town staff. Super job. I'm very impressed. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Chris Williams.
Just want to thank the town water and sewer department for fixing the leak on Rockett Street. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Stan Williamson.
Just wanted to let the police chief and the town manager know how much I appreciated our conversations. It's also my understanding that 3 individuals were apprehended last week, and we seem to think that's the majority of the car breaking in group. And I know the police chief and the sheriff's department all work together to apprehend those 3 individuals. Just want to give them a shout out and I appreciate. We had a bad run through our neighborhood here last week, and I hope that's the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. I'd like to thank Mr. Freeman and staff for good audit, and Mr. Freeman, I'm getting calls on the railroad too. So, and it ain't only bad here; it's bad in some places in Lake City too. I crossed one the other day, and it's just I don't know what they're doing, but we will try to make that call tomorrow on that. And thank all the city employees for the hard work they're doing, and hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. I welcome a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move that we adjourn this meeting. Monica Murdoch.
Thank you. And a second.
Second, Councilman Hammond.
All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by saying no. Ayes have it. Y'all have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you.